Listen here, it's swell to watch the credits roll on a game you've dedicated 30 hours of your life to, but today we're trying to put some serious legs on that runtime, using systems upon systems that'll turn a quick play session into cold coffee and 20 missed calls from your significant other. It's part 3 time, and we're after the big, chewy ones, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget about number 1 on the list, Stoneshard. Stoneshard is a mercenary RPG built on the grind of staying alive. Every trip beyond the safety of town means stocking up on food, medicine, and splints, because the wilderness has no mercy for the unprepared. Its turn-based combat looks straightforward at first, but every decision has lasting consequences. A sword slash drains stamina, a blocked strike rattles your health, and a single wound can spiral into infection if you don't treat it quickly. Even outside of combat, the game keeps pressing. Hunger chips away at your vitality, pain clouds your ability to fight, and resting in the wrong place means risking ambush. You'll spend a lot of time cutting through enemies, but really it's more about managing how much of yourself is left whenever the fighting ends. What seals the game's brutal iron grip is the way all of these pressures stack into a suffocating loop of risk and calculation. Healing is rarely complete. Splints, bandages, and herbs only keep you going long enough to face the next problem. Psychological stress piles up alongside physical wounds, making each trek feel heavier the longer it drags on. Retreating to town isn't defeat so much as survival, dragging your battered body back for just long enough to recover so you can go gamble again. The game doesn't offer the fantasy of invincibility, it gives you the grind of mercenary work, where every victory feels temporary and every journey is a question of how much punishment you can endure before the world swallows you whole. Number 2, Beyond All Reason. This one here lives up to its title by taking the old school real-time strategy model and cranking every dial into absurdity. Instead of finite mines, you're juggling just 2 flowing resources, metal and energy, that never stop ticking, forcing you to keep building, expanding, and scaling or risk stalling your entire war machine. The maps are gigantic, unit counts can stretch into the tens of thousands, and everything is governed by real-world physics. Artillery shells arc, hills block line of sight, and bots scuttle up terrain that tanks can't reach. Even battlefield wreckage feeds back into the economy, meaning the smoking remains of yesterday's army become tomorrow's factory fuel. As you can imagine, that kind of scale produces overwhelming results. Carefully managed formation maneuvers can dissolve instantly when an alliance forgets anti-air, leaving a swarm of gunships to level everything you've built. Quality of life tools like infinite build queues and formation commands keep the interface from collapsing under the weight, but they don't soften the pressure. Each victory only pushes you to escalate with even bigger, more ridiculous weapons. Beyond All Reason is both a stress test of your brain and your PC, where a screen full of 10,000 plasma-spewing robots looks less like an army and more like a traffic jam in need of divine intervention. For players who see possibility in chaos rather than panic, it's as close to a real-time strategy nirvana as you're gonna get. Number 3, Democracy 4. This one hands you the keys to government and immediately confronts you with the impossible task of keeping everything upright. Every decision is a political gamble. Raise taxes to fix the budget, and you risk middle-class outrage. Cut benefits, and the streets will fill with protests. Beneath its simple menus lies a dense network of interlocking policies. Environmental reforms reshape energy markets, shifts in policing affects the crime and poverty, and changes in healthcare can quietly drain the treasury over decades. Nothing exists in isolation, and even small moves can set off consequences that echo across the entire nation. The chaos all of this creates often plays out like a very bleak sitcom. You'll subsidize green energy to save the planet, only to watch car owners riot because gas prices went up. Free public transport sounds noble, right up until you bankrupt the rail system and tank your approval ratings in the same week. Push a little too far, and assassination attempts, riots, and financial collapse are waiting to write your political obituary. Playing Democracy 4 feels like spinning plates on fire while a focus group boos from the audience. An accurate reminder that in politics, the best you can hope for is to leave office with fewer enemies than when you started. Number 4, Satisfactory. At the origin of it all, there's a simple mission: land on an alien planet, mine a few resources, and start producing widgets, but then that quickly escalates into a life's work of conveyor belt choreography, where a couple of miners feeding into smelters becomes an endless sprawl of machines that stretch into the horizon, all of them humming away while you rewire your latest logistical blunders. Every resource has to be extracted, refined, and assembled through a precise sequence, and keeping the flow balanced is a constant obsession. It's not so much about building factories, and more so fighting your own brain's need for symmetry, because once a belt runs slightly crooked, you're never gonna unsee it. The confusing part arises from how quickly ambition outruns sanity. You'll set out to improve iron plate production and somehow end up bulldozing half your base to reroute copper lines that were fine until 5 minutes ago. Power plants explode into blackouts if you misjudge fuel needs, conveyor spaghetti becomes a landmark visible from orbit, and there's always one machine demanding attention because 3 others just ground to a halt. Satisfactory captures both the grandeur and absurdity of industrial progress, the joy of watching everything run smoothly, followed by the realization that you now need to double it, triple it, and keep going until your factory looks like a planetary infestation. Number 5. Starsector. Imagine, if you will, a galaxy where every ship feels like a battered car with a plasma cannon strapped to the hood. Starsector thrives on scarcity. Fuel, supplies, and crew all burn away with every jump, every fight, every mistake. On paper, it's an open-world sandbox about commanding fleets, trading, and surviving a crumbling sector of space. But in practice, it's a constant knife's edge, where even a minor skirmish can leave you limping, jury-rigging engines with the hope of finding a port that won't gouge you for repairs. The fights themselves are thick with tactical weight. Managing flux buildup, positioning massive capital ships, and timing fighter wings creates battles that feel way more intense than any game of asteroids you've ever played. But of course, the interesting part arises with how all these systems overlap. Economy, politics, and survival will all pull at you simultaneously, forcing compromises that can spiral into long-term consequences. That great deal hauling luxury goods can leave you stranded if pirates sniff out your cargo, and installing a powerful AI core might solve your resource shortage while attracting the attention of factions that want your head. Every choice is a gamble, and the longer you'll play, the more you'll realize Starsector is about survival under constant pressure, clawing through hostile space and balancing scarce resources while turning narrow escapes into the victories that matter most. Up next, number 6, Neo Scavenger. There are very few survival games that are as relentlessly unforgiving as Neo Scavenger. You wake up in a ruined facility outside Detroit, wearing nothing but a hospital gown, and from that point forward, everything is stacked against you. Hunger, thirst, hypothermia, infection, and even your footwear are constant threats. Turn-based encounters play out on a hex-based map, where combat isn't about fast reflexes, but managing actions like striking, grappling, and running before exhaustion sets in. A single cut can spiral into sepsis, and a cold night without shelter can end a run faster than any mutant encounter. What sets this game apart is how the survival systems interlock with the scavenging. Loot is scarce, but every item has surprising depth. A plastic bag can carry food, serve as a makeshift water jug, or keep you alive when the temperature drops. The crafting system rewards desperate improvisation, pushing you to stitch together spears, traps, or shoes out of whatever trash you scrape up. Long-term survival demands learning which towns to trust, which strangers to avoid, and how to turn scavenged scraps into a tenuous lifeline. Victory here is about staggering one day further than you thought possible, and occasionally feeling proud that your prized weapon started life as a sharpened stick duct taped to a wrench. Number 7. They are billions. You would be forgiven for thinking this is a steampunk city builder with real-time strategy combat, because it is that, but it is also a constant test of how well you can plan a catastrophe. You start with a few colonists, some tents, and a trickle of resources, but the infected are always at the edges of the map. probing for weakness. The key is building layers of defenses, walls, towers, traps, while expanding your economy just fast enough to sustain growth. A single breakthrough is more than a setback. The infection spreads instantly through your housing, wiping out entire neighborhoods in seconds. And thus your every choice feels like it carries the weight of the colony's future. Expanding toward resources like stone or iron can give you the production you need, but it also means defending more ground with the same stretched army. Training extra troops offers security yet drains food and gold that could have been used to keep your economy stable. The campaign leans into this constant tension, with missions that can last hours and end in failure if even a single breach goes unchecked. By the time the last wave descends, which is tens of thousands of infected pouring in from every direction, your survival will hinge on whether or not your layers of walls, towers, and troops can hold long enough to see the dawn of the next day. Number 8. Distant Worlds 2. Every campaign begins with a single colony on one world, but the galaxy out there is vast and already in motion. There are hundreds of star systems that sprawl across the map, each filled with planets, moons, asteroid fields, and independent factions competing for resources. Civilian freighters and miners set up their own supply lines based on demand, while your role is to guide the state side of things: colonization, research, fleets, and diplomacy. The complexity comes from how tightly those layers are bound together. If the civilian economy falters, your empire's expansion grinds to a halt, no matter how well you planned your military campaigns. Every choice ties into the stability of that larger machine. Expanding to a distant system might secure vital resources, but it also stretches supply lines that need constant protection. Colonies thrive when taxes and development are balanced, yet mismanaging either can spark unrest that slows growth or even leads to revolt. Fleets rely on fuel from gas miners scattered across the map, and a single neglected outpost can cripple an entire campaign. Meanwhile, rival empires expand on their own. Pirates raid trade routes, and ancient ruins hide technologies that can shift the balance of power overnight. Campaigns can last dozens of hours, and the real challenge isn't just building an empire, it's keeping the whole galaxy-spanning network from unraveling while it grows. Number 9. Carrier Command 2. This is a first-person command sim where a futuristic carrier doubles as both warship and control room. You'll physically move between stations on the bridge, operate diegetic consoles, and direct a mixed fleet of drones, fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, amphibious vehicles, and of course, boats. Tasks will pile up fast, plotting waypoints on strategic map, configuring attack runs, assigning sensors, and scheduling resupplies so fuel and munitions reach the front. Co-op lets teammates split stations, while solo play turns you into the entire bridge crew on a rolling deck. The campaign is an island chain tug of war. Capturing an island adds production and storage that feed your carrier. Losing one chokes your supply routes. You can plan barge logistics, choose which islands to industrialize first, and keep the enemy carrier from doing the same while skirmishing by proxy with drones. Line of sight, terrain, and timing all matter. Artillery, missiles, and airframes will only sing when the route in and the route out are covered. Misjudge a refuel window or sail the carrier into a bad angle and the whole operation will unravel. But if you can nail the sequence, you're basically launching precision strikes from a floating factory, and what can be better than that? Number 10. Rise to Ruins. This is a tower defense colony builder with a god hand layer. You'll place homes, workshops, and storage, assign villagers to gather and haul, and channel a pool of magical energy to power spells in special towers. Knights will escalate as the corruption spreads, so the layout matters. Walls to shape paths, towers covering angles, and a steady supply line to keep everything firing. Roads speed up hauling, stockpiles near buildings cut downtime, and your power network has to reach the perimeter without weak links. When the dusk finally hits, it arrives like a subscription that you forgot to cancel. Miss a single repair or a refill and the whole thing can come collapsing down. Your progress will span an entire world map. A teleport gate lets you move people and supplies to new regions, turning a stabilized town into a starter kit for the next one. Support pieces keep the machine running, workshops to maintain frontline constructs, kennels so dogs actually help instead of stealing beds, and upgrades so workers, towers, and spells act in synchronization. Choosing your next region, taking into account resources, distance, and how far corruption has crept is a very important decision, and pushing after dark without storage and power to back it up is a very educational mistake. When the timing finally lands and the wall holds, it feels like you've taught the town a dance routine. And when it doesn't, well, last night's dance routine becomes this morning's archaeology. Number 11. Graviteam Tactics Mius Front. What we have here is a battalion-scale Eastern Front tactics sim built on 2 layers, a turn-based map where you maneuver formations and manage supply, and pausable real-time battles over big, hilly terrain where line of sight, radios, morale, and armor angles decide outcomes. The interface is dense but consistent. Deployment, initial orders, combat, and post-battle reports each have their own flow. Patience beats click speed here. You'll live on the binocular view, learn to stage fire support before you move, and discover that the pause key deserves hazard pay. Between battles, ammo and fuel will move along routes only if you protect them. Recovery crews can pull damaged vehicles back, and artillery is something that you schedule, not spam. The real work is timing. Secure roads, pace advances so trucks can catch up, and coordinate smoke, guns, and movement so one platoon isn't left trading shots alone. Plan well and you get a clean push. Overextend and you arrive at the fight with half the boxes empty while ammo trucks are taking the scenic route. All things said and done, this is a methodical Eastern Front tactics sim where planning, terrain, and supply will decide the fate of every battle, and if you've got the patience, the game will return you dividends of fun. Number 12. Mech Engineer. In this one, you will spend as much time in the garage as you will on the battlefield. Mech Engineer puts you in charge of designing and maintaining a squad of walking tanks, starting with the reactor and working outward until the frame actually works without cooking itself. Every choice, power output, heat sinks, weapon loadout, armor weight, changes how long that machine will last once it's deployed. Pilots bring their own skills and stresses, so the mech isn't just a pile of parts, it's a crude machine that can crack under pressure. The fights you'll be engaging in will rely on active pause, where you set targets, adjust positions, and intervene at the right second to keep the squad from tipping into chaos. Between missions, the world map will keep the pressure on. The convoys have to deliver ammo and spare parts, salvage must be processed, and base facilities need to stay powered while alien swarms keep testing your perimeters. Hot regions force you to overbuild cooling or risk watching your prize design melt down. Colder maps give more breathing room, but still punish sloppy engineering. Every success sends you back to the garage to refine the numbers, and every failure also sends you back to the garage, but just with more cursing and a bigger repair bill. In the end, it's a grim cycle of build, deploy, and rebuild, where the difference between victory and a smoldering crater is measured in your attention to detail. Number 13. Age of Wonders 4. In this game, you will first invent a people, but then you have to live with them. Age of Wonders 4 hands you the palette. You'll pick a form, stitch on cultural traits, and then chase magical tomes that gradually rewrite your citizens into something stranger and stronger. One empire might be a wolf folk who lean into necromancy, while another could be scholarly toads with an unhealthy interest in fire. Cities grow by claiming provinces and outposts, and every new building choice feeds into the delicate balance between food, draft, and gold. Think of it as part world builder, part wizard lab, and part experiment in whether your citizens will tolerate having bark skin as a fashion statement. The combat spins off into turn-based tactical maps where terrain, flanking, and battlefield spells can change the odds, whereas long wars hinge on sieges and reinforcements, while realm-wide enchantments tilt the entire campaign in your favor, or accidentally turn the countryside into an ecological nightmare. The Pantheon system keeps past rulers wandering into future games like nosy ex-neighbors, ready to meddle or remind you about last time's collapse. At its best, this game feels like building a personal mythology from scratch, one miscast fireball and one disgruntled toad at a time. Number 14. Darkwood. Here, you have no jump scares, nor any power fantasy. Darkwood builds horror through how little it explains. You begin in a single room with a broken generator and just enough supplies to make it through the night if nothing goes wrong. The game is top-down, but your vision just a narrow cone, so you hear more than you see, and almost everything worth scavenging is guarded by something with more teeth than empathy for your situation. Even your basic survival requires planning. Fuel must be rationed, crafting costs are tight, and upgrades can feel a little downgrady at times, but you'll have to figure out what I mean by that. Challenge comes in how these systems punish your assumptions. Leave without checking your inventory, and you'll forget the one thing you actually needed. Fortify the wrong area, and the visitor that shows up later that night will test your weaknesses. Time, spacing, light, noise, healing, and bartering all connect here, and the game won't be keen to tell you how to balance it all until it costs you something. Darkwood turns survival into a suffocating puzzle, one where even a small mistake can come knocking at your door later that night. Number 15, Cultist Simulator. You'll start with a job, and the itch to push past this ordinary life. Cultist Simulator plays out through cards and timers. You drop work into one slot to pay rent, study into another to pick apart strange books, and dreams into a third to see what waits whenever you close your eyes. Most discoveries will come in pieces, scraps of lore, fragments of rituals, and acquaintances who might later become followers. But the challenge is fitting all of them together without losing track of your health or your sanity. Some paths reward you with wealth, others take you down corridors best left shut, and it's never obvious which is which until you're already invested. The pressure never lets up. Illness drains your strength, despair hunts for cracks in your resolve, and suspicious eyes will turn your reputation into evidence if you aren't careful. Followers can fuel expeditions or rituals, but the line between devoted ally and ritual ingredient can get thin in a hurry. Power is always dangling just out of reach, and it usually asks for payment that you can't afford. In the end, it's a card game about chasing forbidden knowledge, where discovery feels intoxicating, danger is inevitable, and disaster feels like it's already booked an appointment. Number 16, Faster Than Light. You've got a beat-up ship, which comes complete with a tiny crew and a star map full of problems waiting for your solutions. Faster Than Light, in all of its glory, is a starship sim where each jump into hyperspace is the birth of all of your problems. Combat gracefully features a pause function, which lets you reroute power, select the subsystem that needs to stop working for right now, and shift crews to plug holes or man stations. If you've got a fire blooming and want to vent the room into space, you better pray the ship has enough oxygen afterward to support your crew's ongoing existence. Drop your guard for just a moment, and a single missile through your shields will turn your ship into a floating scrap heap. Between fights, the map presents its own challenges. Detours for loot, risky distress beacons, shops that tempt you to sell today's safety for tomorrow's upgrade, and the slow climb towards a multi-phase flagship that punishes your every weakness. Scrap has the potential to become better reactors, thicker shields, engines that are faster than light, and new hulls entirely. And every improvement buys one more jump of breathing room. Call this a ruthless starship roguelite, where well-timed pauses and smart power routing are the recipe for turning panic into progress. Number 17, Besiege. Our premise is straightforward. Construct a machine, point it at your target, and take your best shot at bringing it down. You're bequeathed a toolbox of wooden beams, wheels, gears, pistons, and God knows what else to solve problems that range from knock down the tower to wipe out this army without immolating your weird-ass remote-controlled toy. The game casts no judgment on how you get there either. It may be siege engines, a wind-up walker, or a ball of death that explodes at just the right time. So long as you bring the damn thing down, you're golden. Building is a gleeful process of medieval engineering that few games can match up to, and progress is hinged purely on how stubborn you are at giving up. One level teaches how the wheels need to be balanced, while another the difference between a propeller and a lawnmower blade. You can add armor, tune suspension, or wire contraptions with elaborate timing blocks until your creation survives long enough to finish its task. This is medieval complex contraption chaos at its best. Every success is earned, and every failure is so freaking funny, you'll want to watch it again. Number 18, Norland. A hungry medieval city-state sits under your banner, and your decisions shall bear grave consequence. Norland is about running a noble household while simultaneously building up a town. You'll reshape the farms and workshops, set wages and taxes, post the patrols, and manage a population complete with needs, beliefs, and messy relationships. Favors and feuds spread through the households, and the most minor gossip may well harden into a plot. Keep the bread and ale moving, and half of your politics will solve themselves. Much like real life, public order runs on snacks. Beyond the walls, rival families will watch your trades, treaties can wobble, and a hushed bribe can save you a loud siege. You'll send agents to sniff out conspiracies, hire muscle when words fail, and march squads that'll need decent roads, rations, and gear to win the day. When the granary burns down or the coin chest runs dry, the war will move into your streets. This is a medieval colony and intrigue sim that bears familiarity to RimWorld, but is very much its own thing. Bread, gold, and grudges ultimately decide who keeps the city and who will be writing apologies from a prison cell. Number 19, Old World. Yours is a city on the frontier, with a court that has more opinions than seats. Old World starts tight, but quickly grows into an empire sim built around a limited stack of actions each turn, which you'll spend on everything from marching your army to settling a hill or just chilling out a local governor. Spend too much too quickly and you'll likely feel it elsewhere. A farm neglected, a treaty stalled, or perhaps an angry cousin finds a podium to ruin your reputation. Characters age, marry, and die. Heirs will inherit strengths and grudges, powerful families will expect favors, and remember slights. So the map game and palace game share the same ledger. What makes it all so demanding is the intermingling of your duties and your relationships. Burn your actions on the front lines, and the council session that you skipped will return as a revolt. Ignore tutors, and their heir who finally takes the throne will love poetry but hate budgets. Push laws without buy-in, and an opposing family may test your walls. Rivals probe your borders, raiders will seek out soft spots in your defenses, and a promise made 3 turns ago will return with a receipt. You win by spending attention on purpose, banking actions when a storm gathers, and smoothing feuds before the knives come out. In this world, a calendar is your sharpest weapon, and a family tree your messiest battlefield. Number 20, WARSIM, the realm of Aslona. On court days, the kingdom lines up before you with their problems, and your words become law. In this text-driven rulership sim, you sit the throne to hear petitions, set taxes, fund guards, and decide which fires to smother with coin and which to hand off to your soldiers. The scope of the game constantly grows, tribes to bargain with, guilds to woo, odd neighbors to tolerate or politely evict, and every sub-menu contains further rabbit holes. You can squeeze revenue from an arena, bankroll expeditions into the wild, or hire the champion the bards won't shut the hell up about. A single bad call won't break you, but a pattern of them is a precursor to a world of hurt. Raise levies too high, and unrest ferments. Go gentle on raiders, and caravans may vanish. Back a new friend, and you could wake up with your border under new management. Random events rewrite your budget, while lesser powers watch for weakness, and the docket never gets shorter just because you skipped a day. Survival comes from mastery of juggling military might, diplomacy between powers, and your administrative duties. Make law in the morning, enemies by afternoon, and may your treasury outlast both. Number 21, AI War 2. You'll begin with a single foothold and a fleet built for raids, not parades, and the galaxy's machine overlord notices all. Take a planet, smash a key target, or even scout too boldly, and a global threat counter ticks upwards. Later the game names this AI progress, and this determines how brutal the response is going to be. Battles take place in possible real-time strategy format across a star map of choke points and side doors, so your success comes from precise hits. Capture a station that unlocks a new ship line, seize a factory that bumps your tech tier, or knock out a control node that drops that AI progress. Push too hard and the machine comes for you. Roving hunter fleets assemble and waves reroute towards your soft borders. You can hack terminals to steal blueprints or quick build defenses, but expect the sirens to escalate there too. Hold too many worlds and your income won't cover the defenses that they demand. The campaign rewards restraint as much as courage. Keep only the planets that pay for themselves, gut the ones that don't, and back off when the meter runs hot. AI War 2 has received critical acclaim for its ruthless, reactive AI and its sharp grand strategy, real-time strategy hybrid design. It's an exercise in restraint and surgical rating, best left for players who consider owning less and being happy as a viable strategy in war. Number 22, Tales of Maj'Eyal. Each step is a turn, and the dungeon keeps perfect score. In Tales of Maj'Eyal, you build a hero from race, class, and deep skill trees, then fight across a grid where line of sight and spacing decide who gets the clean hit and who gets the hospital bills. Classes run on different resource bars, so attacking, defending, and moving all tug from the same budget. Much of your safety lives in emergency abilities, short dashes, shields, cleanses, teleports that recharge on timers. Trigger them on time and you'll reset the fight. Hit them late and your run ends with a very instructive tombstone. The rhythm becomes advanced, break vision, re-engage. Always watching cooldowns, always counting tiles, and deciding whether this is the moment to fire the emergency ability you've been saving. You'll check your log and realize half your tools are silenced and the other half are stunned, and the button you thought would save you got locked behind a wall of conditions that you forgot to clear. Every floor is winnable until it isn't, and the only stat that really matters is how well you can stay calm under pressure. Number 23, Dyson Sphere Program. It begins with a single mech dropped on a lush alien planet, and from there, your job is to build an automated industrial empire capable of harvesting the full energy output of a sun. You start small, mining ore, crafting gears by hand, and laying your first conveyor belts like a proud little space ant. But the game doesn't end until you've covered planets and processors, strung interstellar supply lines between solar systems, and enclosed a star inside of a metal shell. The scale climbs fast, and so does the headache. Smelting bottlenecks, power shortages, and production chains 20 machines deep become your new normal. The gear you made 10 hours ago? Well, now you need 50,000 of them per second. The complexity doesn't just come from size, it comes from balance. Every tech unlock shifts a pressure point. Power grids flicker if you scale too fast, interplanetary logistics will collapse if one input fails, and one misplaced sorter can bottleneck an entire continent. You'll spend just as much time zoomed out routing planetary veins as you will zoomed in wondering why your crystal refinery is starving again. The game never punishes you directly, it just lets all of your bad decisions keep working until they collectively jam everything. It's an interstellar factory game where ambition outpaces stability and the cleanup crew is always you. Number 24, War in the East 2. This one puts you in command of the entire Eastern Front in World War II, 1 week per turn, and expects you to think like both a general and a supply officer. Every push requires groundwork, repair railways to match your side's gauge, stage fuel and ammo through depots, and organize your formations under the right chain of command so bonuses actually land where they should. A brilliant maneuver unsupported by trucks is just an expensive hike, and even your best divisions won't hold if you burn their ammo chasing a breakthrough with no rails behind it. Weather systems are crucial. Snow slows supply, mud kills movement. The complexity creeps in as your front line starts to stretch. Push too far and units stall out hungry. Pull back too late and retreat paths clogged with equipment that you can't replace. Your aircraft will burn resources that you'll need next week. Partisans will bleed your rear areas, and political points cap how much you can reorganize or promote. The numbers matter: tonnage moved, fuel percentages, fatigue rates, and the difference between a successful offensive and a stalled disaster usually lives inside 3 decimal points that you didn't notice. It's a tense, dense, demanding monster of a sim, but if you enjoy World War II as much as you enjoy spreadsheets, there's nothing more rewarding.
Number 25, Space Engineers.
Have you ever built something that looked perfect right up until you tried to actually use it? Well, in Space Engineers, that moment becomes the lesson, because you don't place vehicles, you assemble them, and then the physics vote. Power has to reach every working part, engines actually push from their mounted directions, and the mast you've bolted on will change how the frame handles the instant it lifts. Batteries need wiring, cargo shifts weight, and weight shifts everything. You're gonna build it, test it, and rebuild it when gravity points out what you've missed. Seal a cockpit and you'll have pressure. Leave one panel loose and it vents your oxygen into space. What makes the game complex isn't building big, it's getting anything to work right. Add a drill and the balance shifts. Bolt cargo unevenly and the ship will start to lean. Use the wrong engine for the atmosphere you're in and you'll get liftoff with no control. Mistakes aren't dramatic, they're quiet, structural, and constant. One missing connection, one bad thruster angle, and your proud design becomes a lopsided crater on a moon that you never meant to visit.